Whew. Okay. Hey, had a very interesting 24 hours. So yesterday afternoon, took off to take my son out to a Journey to Manhood event, and the weather advisory was cold weather, and the weather advisory was for the event was cold weather and dress up warm. They were right. It was bitterly cold, and I'll talk about cold weather maybe later, but let's first of all say welcome. So welcome. We're going to have welcome to Big Board. My name's Kevin. If you haven't been here before, oh well, you're in for a treat. If you have been here before, you know the deal. I tend to do a lot of stuff off the cuff and communicate extemporaneously, which has its pluses and minuses. But what I thought I'd do today was have a conversation about Compass Games magazine, Paper Wars, which they acquired, I think, 2.5 years ago. Maybe it was a little bit longer. But they have this particular issue that's just been released, and I just got my copy, for the Finnish Civil War. And I've recently found out that because I don't spend a lot of time at Consum World, and maybe you know Consum World, not a huge fan of the place. It's relatively unfriendly to use and relatively unfriendly in general. I find myself becoming very combative with people there, and I started off on the wrong foot over there as well, so mea culpa. That said, folks over there kicked up a fuss and a storm about this magazine's edition's game, and in particular the game map, because the map was just, by any stretch of the imagination, was an absolutely abortive disaster of a art effort by the artist. And I now know who the artist is, and we're not going to mention that person's name or discuss them, because we don't need to embarrass them any further. They did enough to embarrass themselves. It was a pretty horrid effort. And also, they were particularly recalcitrant when it came to actually making edits based on designer and publisher's request. So a new artist was found, and they redid the map, which was a win for everybody, because I think it's important that when we're engaged in the design process as a community, that our feedback be taken seriously and legitimately, particularly if there's a weight of commentary behind that, right? So it's it's one thing if I just complain and say, I don't like it, but if there's a voice coming from the community that says, hey, that might not be a good idea, would you consider reviewing the artwork on that? Companies, I think, have in today's social media engaged and instant pundit, opportunistic era, have an obligation now to listen to their constituency, listen to their fans and their customers and their detractors as well, and pay heed. You can't just go design and publish in a vacuum if you're going to share content prior. If you're going to share content prior as things are evolving, you need to take that feedback in. That's kind of the rub, right? You generate interest, you generate potential buyers, you generate word of mouth, and you expand your universe of potential buyers by sharing the rule book and the counter art and the map art and the design philosophy and where you're coming from with it and what the game is about and all that sort of fun stuff. You share all of that with us to engage us. Now, if we don't like it, well, you can say, the hell with you, I'm just going to go do it my way anyway, but then don't expect us to buy it, and don't expect us to have a favorable opinion of it if you didn't take our opinions, thoughts, comments, and suggestions into account. And I'll look at a guy like Ty Bomba, whose games, of late I have, I must say, not been particularly impressed with, but he is engaged in the community and he's taking in feedback, thought, comment from folks to a certain degree, and everyone can have their own spectrum of how much input they want to accept, right? So CSW launched their angry tirade of hate on the map that was in the game. And I also posted up some comments, and I actually suggested on the blog post, I was trying to be positive about it, that I didn't like it. I thought it was one of the worst maps I'd ever seen, and that I would be prepared to pay someone to redo the map. And I was on the cusp of offering up a GoFundMe to do it. Hell, for $200, I'll pay someone to do it myself, and let's just get the game done right. Now, why would I make such a big fuss about a magazine game? Well, it's a Brian Train game. I like Brian Train's designs, and I think he deserved better. And I felt, because there was no feedback from Paper Wars editorial team or Compass Games in any emails I sent them or any communications I gave them, that I was upset that I didn't get a response, and I was disappointed that I didn't get a response. But it all worked out in the end. But so I was prepared to go and do what I thought needed to be done to get a replacement map, even if it ended up only being for me. But I would have paid for a design to be redone, have it printed, and anyone who wanted one could buy one for $5 or whatever it would cost to get your copy, right? If I can recover my costs, that would be awesome. Now, I wouldn't normally do that, but I think I was trying to make a point that our gaming community is small, and we're evolving as a community, and we're changing via this sort of interaction and social media and website interactivity. You can't just go throw crap out and throw it over the fence and not respond back to your base. So I was trying to make a point. Now, I don't know what influence CSW had, I had, or anyone had. I am almost certain that the guys from Compass Games looked at that map and went, what the frickin' hell is this? We need a new map. Unfortunately, they didn't communicate any of that with us. They just quickly changed the map out on the website and said, okay, Bob's your uncle, here you go. That's kind of how it ended up with me anyway. So that's kind of a very long 8-minute and 14-second introduction to the Paper Wars edition, which I'm going to show you the map and the counters. I'm going to talk a little bit about the magazine. I just opened it. I kind of like the unprepared remarks format. And we'll see what articles are in here and have a look. And I'm going to take a quick check on the comments right now, and we'll see what folks are saying. I see there's a handful here. We are talking about the Winter War map. Kyle, hello, Devon. Well, Kyle, you're a better fan than I am then. Oh, Devon, for God's sake, you need to pull your head out of your ass, dude. This map was horrible. What are you even talking about? You got to be joking. And I'm not even going to get into the map. You can go to the blog and look at it, folks, the other folks that are here. So we're just going to leave it at that. It was a horrible map. It had inconsistencies in three-dimensional and two-dimensional art. It had inconsistency in color and style. It had all sorts of things going wrong with it, and it was just fugly. And here's the new map. I'm going to have a look at it myself in a second in person, but you can see there, it's certainly not as stylized as the other one, but it does have a speckled green for the land masses, and then there's snowy open areas. It's got a nice clean, clear morale and peace talks track across the top, a turn record track across the top. Consistency in fonts. I don't like the white outline around the black lettering. The towns, etc., are all clearly labeled, and we know what's a town and what's a city and what's a village by the looks of it. And it looks good. It looks better. It looks now that I could look at this map, set the game up, and play it without being distracted and offended by the artwork on the map, and I can focus in on what the game mechanics are. So that's goodness. Here's camera. So some interesting choices in counteract colors, but that is what it is. Nothing massively egregious coming at you from that. So let's have a quick look at and these counters are actually quite nice too. They're reasonably good quality. Now once again, I think, the Compass Games maps lately, this shiny high gloss finish, the ink tends to crack along the seams. But this one is just a little bit of it going on, not much. It's not too bad. It's a pet annoyance. It kind of distracts from the immersion in the game. All right, so I've got the camera facing this way, and I can't switch because it stops the broadcast in a bad way. So we're just gonna roll with this. I'm gonna check in on the this. So there are reviews for The Last Success, which I'll be interested in having a look at. Red Dragon, Green Crescent. Golly. The lamps are going out. Oh, man. Yeah, so Beyond Waterloo. Now, there's something I would like to read an article on because I really want to play that game. I think it's an interesting concept. I don't know if you know, it's an ATO magazine style game. And it's, I think it runs forward from the Battle of Waterloo, assuming that Napoleon won, or you fight the Battle of Waterloo and then kind of go forward. And it's an area map game based on covering most of Europe, in fact. And it's Pradas design, I think John Pradas. Excuse me. Brian Train writes an article for Finnish Civil War, also design notes for Finnish Civil War, and the Finnish Civil War of 1918, another article. So there's 3 articles in there. There's a review of Sekigahara, great game. Probably don't need to read that. I wonder if someone has something negative to say. We'll check that out. It's actually written by GMT Games, it says. That's interesting. Franco-Prussian War, Compass Games title. Excuse me, The Last King of Scotland, Victory Point Games. Road to Charon. Road to Charon. There's something special that you don't see every day. The only game I've ever owned that is basically has the counters that are covered in a tacky some sort of tacky substance. It's like they were sealed. Hey, Greg. It's like they were sealed, printed and then sealed in something. And so when you cut them, what's that? Laminate. It's like they were laminated and then cut. When you break them apart, they cut, and you pick the counters up and they can stick to your finger. It's really special. Road to Charon is actually not a bad game, but the interface, counters sticking to your fingers, shit going everywhere, it's horrible. So that broke that game for me. Didn't like it at all. One and done with that bad boy. But I think there's a cool game there. There's a little bit of a sort of tactical choice to be made with a few things going on there. Then there's an interview with Richter about In the Shoes of Admiral Nagumo. I think that's a small mini game deal. And then there's Guido Butai as well. So, so there's a bunch of stuff in here. Let's quickly get through. I'm not even going to worry about Red Dragon, Green Crescent. This game frustrates the hell out of me. I want to try and like it, but I haven't got my head around it yet. Lots of design details. Oh, this is an article in here. The lamps are going out for World War I. It goes through all of the event cards, notes on all the event cards. So you can see here, all the different event cards are being discussed in quite a bit of detail here. There's several pages actually of this. Beyond Waterloo, a review by Joseph Godbout, Godbout, how would you say it? Godbout, maybe? I'll go see if I can find out what this is. Here's what the map looks like. Can you see that? It's kind of an area-based thing. It's a very interesting game. I've read the rules partially. It gets fairly detailed. It is a Prados game, and it's kind of heavy going. And I have not been brave enough to work it out. So let me see. Okay, this guy says the campaign's solid. More games of face-to-face play. I needed to decide if the combat system and the yeah, it's got a funky combat system. The molasses-like nature of the infamous FERT, which is the combat resolution system, and its merry band of modifiers. But you don't use the combat results table very much, on average about 8 to 10 times. The rulebook, and in the history of wargaming, how many designers have provided major rewrites of fundamentally flawed rulebooks? My advice would be this: if you're familiar with the CRT and like it, you'll like Napoleon, and like Napoleonic Warfare, you'll like the game. If you're not, get a copy of the rules and read through them with care. Well, that's kind of a bullshit conclusion. There's the rules for the Finnish War thing, which looks like they run out to maybe 8-9 pages. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of charts, designer notes. There's actually not a lot of content in this one. There's a lot of rules in here. And then there's the article. The unification of Japan. So they made a mistake in the index. They said Sekigahara by GMT Games. The review is actually by Paul Glenn. Nice artwork. Here we go. You can see the artwork here for Sekigahara. You probably know that. Hey Tony, what's going on, man? Oh, I'm turning green. Lucky me. All right. Well, sorry about that. It's probably your karate connection, perhaps. And that just can't be helped. This is a very brief review. It's 2.5 pages. It says it's a good game and fun to play. Let me see what else here. The history of the Franco-Prussian War. I have got so many books on the Franco-Prussian War. Maybe I just need to read this article and save myself a bunch of pain. Well, it's quite a detailed article. Then there's the Last King of Scotland, and The Road to Charon. Let's see what this guy concludes. Yeah, nice game. Who calls a game nice? In the Shoes of Admiral Nagamo, an interview about his first design of Kido Batai. All right, and that's just, you've probably seen Derek Case play this game. He played it 2 or 3 times and posted about it online. And I think he actually gave it quite a smashing review. And so there we have it. That's all I really want to talk to you about. I'm getting some messages saying that my camera has frozen. I don't know if it has. And the hell with my camera if it has done so. So I'm going to wrap this up. Hopefully we have not lost the video entirely. So I appreciate you guys checking in. And yeah, Washington, it looks like we're still here. Washington's Crossing, Tony, is actually a pretty neat game. It's based off of Kevin Zucker's Napoleonic system. All right, dudes, I'm going to let you guys go, and we'll talk soon. I am going to do Marco's live game chat, which is I think a 4 or 8 person max tonight. In fact, just in just a little while at 6 p.m. Come join in if you can. And then after that, I'm going to drink a little whiskey and I'm going to play some Next War. And I have a friend instant messaging me and telling me that I suck at lock and load, and I do. He beat me. Was it twice or was it 3 times? I forget, out of 4. But anyway, every dog has its day. Talk to you guys soon. Adios.